with Tonga. So there was a lot of fighting going on with some of the islands. Fijians had the reputation of being cannibals and extremely dangerous, so many of the early explorers of the world, Captain Cook, William Bligh, Abel Tasman, they went through Fiji waters, but they never landed because they didn't have the cojones to do it wisely. In the early 1800s, some brave missionaries came into Fiji and they eventually convinced the local population that cannibalism was a bad thing and that they should embrace God. And for better or worse, Christianity came in, which meant that cannibalism stopped. And the last known act of cannibalism was in 1860, so you guys are fine, don't worry, you're not going to get eaten. And the world record for the most number of people eaten was by a cannibal who ate the last person. His name was Ratu Under, and he's in the Guinness Book of Records for eating 999 people. He was one off 1,000. Poor fella. And they know that because at his house, he had a pyramid of human skulls. And they counted it was for every person that he ate, he kept their head and lined it all up. Anyway, that's all past. We were ceded to Britain in 1874 due to an unpayable debt to America. And the British then wanted the country to be self-sufficient. They wanted industry, and they introduced sugarcane growing. So they brought in a whole bunch of indentured labourers from India to work the fields because the Fijians didn't understand why you would grow something that you can't actually eat, and it's toiling under the hot sun. And why do we need money? Because we grow and catch everything we need, so we're not going to do that silly work that you want. So the British were scratching their head, and the Fijians were very happy. They didn't need any work. So the British came along with the Indians, and they put them on 5-year contracts. After 5 years, they were then invited to either go back to India or stay on, and they were given a 10-acre plot of land to continue the sugarcane growing. 90% of the people ended up staying, and Fiji now has a very vibrant, multicultural nation and society with almost 50% local Fijian and 50% Indo-Fijian, and then a smattering of other places, other cultures. On the 10th of October 1970, Fiji gained independence from Britain, and we are now an independent republic. So where are we? Who's been before? Okay, so I'm educating not many people here. But obviously we are straight above New Zealand. This is the overall island chain of Fiji. There's a little laser pointer here, which might help. And your main cruising grounds are the Lau group, which is very remote, isolated. To go out here, you've got to be very self-sufficient. Then you have the Savu area, the Asawas over here, and then the Mamanuvas. They're probably your 4 main cruising grounds. So the currency is the Fiji dollar, and at the moment, 1 Fiji dollar is getting you about 46 US cents. I've got a few prices in here. I've just used US dollars just for ease of reference. You guys got here, you know all about this, so I'm not going to dwell on this one too long. But ideally, we want you from here to either go up to New Zealand, come to Fiji, go to Newcastle, and then consider coming back again, because as you know, New Zealand is a great cruising ground as well. So go slow, don't rush to see all the islands. Demographic wise, there's 360 islands in Fiji at high tide. There's about 390 at low tide. The 2 main islands, Viti level and Vanua level, there's 850,000 people. And the predominant population is based on the 2 main islands, which is Viti level and Vanua level. Suva is the capital, and this is an aerial shot of Suva. It's actually quite modern, very vibrant, lots of great restaurants and bars. I recommend people go there at some stage in their stay in Fiji. And as we spoke about, the main cruising grounds, which are just there. This is a quick little video. Hopefully the sound comes through. It was produced by Tourism Fiji, and it just gives you a quick little overview.
Located in the heart of one of the most beautiful cruising regions in the world, Fiji's 333 idyllic islands embody the magic of the South Seas. As a major yachting hub in the South Pacific, Fiji has many world-class port and marina facilities, diverse cruising regions, and entertainment for owners and crew who visit these islands tropical waters, combined with a diversity of experiences, modern facilities, and friendly locals known for their humor and hospitality, it is easy to see why Fiji is such a popular sailing destination. You could happily spend months exploring, swimming, and diving off Fiji's 333 islands and 1.29 million square kilometers of pristine ocean, and still have lots more to discover. Fiji's special charm is its incredible diversity. Whether you choose to bask in the small towns and cities, or see blissful isolation anchored off one of the many far-flung islands. The larger islands are where you can explore Fiji's national parks, which brim with hiking trails, timeless rainforests, and countless boulder-strewn rivers and waterfalls. But the smaller islands are just as tempting, with many secluded bays and remote reefs to play castaway on. Underwater, fish-filled lagoons and pristine reefs beckon divers to explore their hooks and swim through the carpet of colorful corals that has earned Fiji's position as the soft coral capital of the world. Topside, warm tropical waters entice you to play on Fiji's world-class surf breaks, chase massive game fish across a lagoon, or ride the trade winds on a kiteboard. Powdery beaches and picture-perfect islands have their charms, but Fiji's true treasures are its people, who have been called the happiest on earth. Fiji's diversity of cultures include indigenous Fijian, Indian, part European, Chinese, and Pacific Island, influencing everything from traditions to religion and food. Fiji really is a cruiser's dream destination with a delightful diversity that will keep you exploring. So why not drop anchor and stay a while in the land where happiness finds you?
The bullet spirit awaits. I definitely agree. The overall charm of Fiji is its people. It's an amazing country, and those of you that have been there before will probably agree with me about that one. So seasons-wise, there's 2 seasons. The sailing season, which is from the 1st of May coming up until the end of October, and then cyclone season, or our summer, which is the other 6 months. Sailing season is generally the driest season. It's got consistent southeast trade winds. But the cyclone season, even though it's called the cyclone season, is pretty much the monsoon months where we have a gentle breeze, maybe 10 knots. There's an afternoon shower that kind of cools things down, which is welcome relief. But it's a great time to stay in Fiji in cyclone season because you don't have the crazy 20, 25 knot trade winds coming through. It's much more relaxed. You can go to anchorages, there's nobody else around. And it's an enjoyable place to be. So decisions. Why are you going to come to Fiji? Well, firstly, your yacht can stay in Fiji now for 5 years. Previously it was 18 months, and the government just changed this in the last 2 years. So your yacht can stay in Fiji duty-free for 5 years. You, unfortunately, as people, are still subjected to the same visa requirements as if you arrive by plane. So 4 months on arrival, you can extend it for another 2, and then you can extend it again for another 6 months if you want. We're just talking about the 60 months that you can stay. It's very yacht friendly. There's lots to see and do. You've got the surfing, your diving, your fishing, your waterfalls, restaurants, the culture side of things. We'll talk a little bit more about that. Who's the scuba divers here? Okay, so Great White Wall, Rainbow Reef, and the Astrolabe Reef are probably 3 of the top 10 dive sites in the world, and they're in Fiji. Surfing, any surfers here? Okay, let me tell you about Cloudbreak later on. Fiji's got great surfing, fishing, zip lines, mountain biking, world-class golf courses. Any golfers here? Yeah? Don't go to this one. It's world class, it's fantastic, but it's on Lavala Island, which is owned by the guy who started Red Bull. 7-star. You can play here for free, but you have to stay there, which is $5,000 US a night. So don't play at that one. But it is world class. Whitewater rafting. Because it's a rainforest, destination. There's waterfalls, there's whitewater rafting, there's cave tours, river jet boat rides. You can do skydiving, visit the mud baths. This is this is called Cloud 9, a floating restaurant. You can anchor directly here, drop your hook, stay out there for days on end. They've got a pizza bar, really cool DJs normally play there. It's a lot of fun. Kula Eco Park, if you want to know the flora and fauna of Fiji. The Fiji Museum is in Suva and well worth a visit. They've just put a new installation together called Voyages about the arrival of the first people into Fiji. You could watch a firewalking show. The people from the island of Benga have the power to walk on fire. There's a long story behind all that. I won't dwell on that one too long, but it is quite incredible what they do. You could visit the Church of the Black Christ. Fiji is very religious. The Church of the Black Christ is in Raki on the north side of Viti Level, and this church was quite controversial. It was painted in 1970. It was built in the 1800s, but it was painted in 1970 by a French artist named Jean Chalot. And this is a huge mural behind the altar, and it would be 3 times the size of this whole wall, going that way. And it's controversial because Jesus is depicted as a black man. Mary over here is an Indian lady in a sari, and they're presenting Jesus with pagan gifts such as whale's tooth and kava and all these pagan gifts, which was, so back in the day it was quite full on. But well worth a visit to go and see it because it is huge and the detail is incredible. Diving, we have, you could dive with the bull sharks, also swim with the manta rays, kite surfing galore. There's a whole bunch of options for you to do while you're in Fiji. And one of the things I recommend, as I said earlier, is at some stage go to Suva. So park your boat up somewhere, get a rental car and cruise around the main islands of both Viti Level, jump in the ferry, shoot across and cruise around Vanua Level. It is a really great experience. The road is fantastic. As I said, Suva has great restaurants and bars. It'll make your experience in Fiji just that little bit better. If you've got friends and family that want to come and visit you, they don't want to do the crossing, that's not surprising. But if they do want to come and visit you, it's got great air connectivity. There's over 70 flights a week to Australia. There's 26 flights a week to New Zealand. There's a daily flight to Los Angeles direct, and then you've got Singapore, Hong Kong, and Seoul's not on there anymore, but Narita in Japan is. So it's fantastic air connectivity. You don't have to do any individual jumps when you're in Fiji. It's also got great internet. If you don't have 3G, then you'll have, if you don't have 4G, then you'll definitely have 3G. It's also very affordable. 250 gigs is only $16. I couldn't believe I bought some data yesterday and it was $49 for 10 gigs. I'm like, what? So Fiji has excellent internet. Starlink does work in Fiji. You can bring it on your yacht, but don't ask somebody to fly it in because the Fiji government is cracking down on that. Yes, sir.
Does that include the LAO?
That includes that. Yeah, it works everywhere in
Starlink.
Fiji. Starlink. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. I recommend that people get like a little dongle and you'd either take Vodafone or Digicel just as a backup. So Fiji used to be renowned as very scary. The charting was like, oh, we've got some paper charts that were from way back in the day, Captain Cook times, and it was never really updated. But about 2 years ago, the British Hydrographic Office did a big survey of Fiji and they updated a lot of the charts. So before you go, make sure you download the latest charts and head on up. But also I would highly recommend, as a fellow sailor, using the Sail South Pacific Fiji Cruising Guide, which you can find on Apple Store and Google.
Apple Store at the moment only, unfortunately.
Ah, right, okay.
But the Android, unfortunately, not.
Right, okay. Fantastic app. John created it. It's full of amazing information, great routes, and a lot of detailed information about certain anchorages as well. So, highly recommend that one. As I mentioned, summer, you have the scary word of cyclone season. but the reality is we can go years without a cyclone. We haven't had a direct impact for the last 4 years. The longest we've gone is 8 years. And as long as you've got your little hidey hole that's somewhere close by that you know I can tuck into, consider staying in Fiji for a full season. So cyclone season is a great time to be there. Grant's got his boat there. I put my boat in a cyclone pit. He can't, his is too big. But he's very comfortable leaving his boat there. It's a 84 footer, and he's very comfortable leaving it with us at Punta Marina, but there's other places where you can anchor and go up mangroves and tie off. There's various options for you. Another benefit of being in Fiji is that we have the Muskie Cove Regatta. Anybody been to that before? Was it fun? Yeah, it's good fun. It's held in September. They haven't announced the exact dates yet, but it's always held in September. It's a week-long festival of sailing, both on land and on the water. So if you're in Fiji around September, I highly recommend that you go down to that. I think it only costs about 70 Fijian dollars, which is about $35 or something, 35 US to go. Fiji is also very affordable. We went to a bar last night. I bought 2 beers and it cost the equivalent of 48 Fijian dollars. I couldn't get over it. So Fiji is very affordable compared to...
Just to put that in perspective, guys, you could spend the entire night at the Sunset Bar at Punta Marina and not spend $48.
We could carry you out.
So these are just some price comparisons of random things that you can get in Fiji. So a bottle of beer, this is from the shops, not in restaurants and bars and stuff, but from the shops, a bottle of beer is about $1.20. Diesel's going for about $1.10 a litre at the moment. You get a casual labourer to work on your boat for about $3.70. It's an affordable destination. This is US dollars.
US dollars.
Yep. Now, New Zealand is known as probably the world's premier repair destination, so you can get all your work done here. It's world class, but Fiji also has really good workmanship. It's affordable because of the labour rates are much different than here. So you can get everything from mechanical, spray painting, sails and canvas work, carpentry and fiberglass, electrical rigging, pretty much anything that you need. If you need a part for your boat that's not available locally, then you can import it. It's duty free as long as it goes onto the boat. You just need to provide what they call the rotation number, and everybody that arrives in Fiji has a unique rotation number. You declare that when you ship over the parts and it comes in duty free. You obviously still have to pay shipping, but nothing more. Dan, just some examples of some of the work that has been done over the years. Some of the other reasons to stay and play in Fiji. If many of you have come through French Polynesia, you would have noticed the lack of English speaking in Fiji. English is the national language. So as soon as a kid is from 5 years old in class 1, they're taught in English, parliament's in English, everything's in English. So your cultural experience will be better because everyone from a 5-year-old to a 105-year-old can converse with you. You can be in a remote anchorage at a village, having a sit down, and they'll be able to tell you stories and legends, and you'll have a greater appreciation of your time in Fiji. It's also very safe. Like most places in these parts of the world, gun ownership is illegal in Fiji, so you won't find anybody trying to be naughty with a gun. It's very friendly. We spoke about it. It was in the video as well. Fijians are amazingly graceful. They will always invite you into their house. They'll say, there's a famous saying in Fiji, which is mai kana, which means come eat. And they'll always graciously give you what little they have, but they love sharing. It has, one of the things I love the most about being in Fiji, as I said, I've been there nearly 40 years, is it's got that perfect blend of your modern conveniences. You can get pretty much anything that you want in Fiji, from your foods to your hardware requirements to pretty much everything. But it's also got that remote and isolation factor. So within 2.5 hours sail from our marina, you can be on an island that has absolutely nobody around it and you're completely isolated. But just 2.5 hours later, you can get whatever you need. So it's got that best of both worlds feel. When you're in Fiji, you will be asked at some stage to do what they call a sevu-sevu. And who hasn't done a sevu-sevu? Okay, so a sevu-sevu is essentially asking permission to be in somebody's area. And what you will be doing is you will be taking some kava. That's an example of raw kava. They pound it into a fine dust. They put it in a cloth. They squeeze it with water and turn it into this beautiful brown looking drink that doesn't taste the best, but it is very culturally significant. And once you have done the sevu sevu, you are essentially part of the family, and you're allowed to use the waters, use the land, go up the creeks, fish, whatever you want to do, pick fruits. It's them accepting, saying thank you very much, you're free to enjoy. Now, a very formal sevu sevu is this one where they get dressed up in their leaves and their markings, their war markings, etc. More than likely you won't be going through that. This is quite long. It takes hours and hours and hours. It's very full on. You'll be doing something more casual like this. You'll be, when you go, the rule of thumb is if you drop anchor and you can see a village, then you should go there. You don't have to. It's not legal or anything. It's just a nice obligation to do. So you go there, take your tender onto the beach, ask to see what they call the Turangani Koro, which is the headman. Everybody knows who that is, so whoever it is will take you to the Turangani Koro. You'll then be invited into the house. You take your shoes off. When you go in, always have a t-shirt, no singlets, no wearing hats, take your sunnies off. And women should have dresses below their knee. So it's nothing revealing. When you're invited, you'll sit cross-legged. If you can't sit cross-legged, then on the side. And then you'll essentially give your kava and they'll take over. It's all done in Fiji and you have no idea what they're saying. But you'll have a spokesman on your behalf. The analogy that I give is some people get upset about having to do the sevu sevu and they feel that it's a hassle and all the rest of it. But the analogy I give is that if you were at your house back in Australia or New Zealand or you're in America, wherever it is, and you've just finished your lunch, you're doing your dishes, you look out the window and there's these kids playing on your swing. You've got some kids that are going down the slides and on the swing. You'd be like, what the hell are you coming out there? Yeah, little bastards, get them. And you chase them away and they jump over the fence and run away. But if those same kids came along to your front door, knocked on the door and said, excuse me, sir, we've noticed you've got a nice swing set out the back, can we go play? You would think they are the best kids ever. Absolutely, you guys are great. No problem, go enjoy it. It's the same thing with the sevu sevu. You're essentially asking them to be in their backyard and you should do it. You don't have to, but it's a wise thing to do.
Especially on more remote islands.
Yes.
Yeah, so Muscat Cove and places like that, you don't need to do it, but you do on the remote islands.
Yeah. The main islands, where if there's a town or anything, you don't need to do any of that. But definitely in the remote places. Does anybody have any questions about the sevu sevu?
Could you just take the powder, or do they prefer you to take the raw?
20 years ago, it was only raw. Now a few companies have started vacuum sealing 100-gram packets of this, and in terms of being on a boat, it's excellent because it lasts for years. So I tell people buy 20 of them, little packs. You go to a village, you give say 3 or 4 of them away.
You're far more likely to get invited to the ceremony as well if you take the powder with you.
Yeah.
Powder, they don't have to then, if you come up with the root, they have to pound it to get the powder. If you arrive with a small root and some powder, you'll get invited to the ceremony. And that's well worth doing. Just give a brief description of Ngoli Ngoli.
That's fraught with danger, that one.
Okay, do you mind if I do it?
Yeah.
Okay, so Adam said the kids are playing on the swing. Ngoli Ngoli basically is where the village has access to and rights to everything around the village, whether it be on the land, whether it be in the water, wherever. His description of the fact that you've got kids playing on your swing, brilliant. But it's even a little bit more than that. If you imagine yourself coming up on a caravan or an RV popping out and plugging it into somebody else's PowerPoint on his front lawn, and then sitting out underneath your awning with beer and all the rest of it. You are in a Fijian Ngoli Ngoli if you're doing that in your boat in Fiji. So it's really a matter of understanding that the property rights in Fiji don't stop at the high tide mark. It covers the entire area around the village, whether that be the reefs or the waters or the mountain. So if you want to go up the mountain that's next to the village, go see the headman, and he'll provide you with a couple of local guides, that young fellas that will take you up there. They'll embarrass the hell out of you because they'll do it 10 times the type of speed before you do it.
In bare feet.
But well worthwhile doing. Fiji is, in my opinion, Lynn and I have done the entire Southwest Pacific many, many times. Fiji is heaven on earth. It really is.
And we still haven't seen all of it yet.
So go out and enjoy.
And just, just before I answer your question, if you can't have access to this, or you've run out, you've given it all away, an alternative is giving clothes, giving colouring pencils, giving things that kids can use in schools. That kind of thing is always appreciated. So don't feel that you have to only give this. I've been to villages before, and I had a whole bunch of T-shirts. I gave them T-shirts. It's just the act of here's my offer. Will you accept it? Yes, we accept it. Thank you very much. Sorry.
How hygienic is the water they use for this?
Fiji water. It's the cleanest water in the world.
They put it in bottles and
Yeah,
sell
they
all
bottle
over
it.
the world.
I wouldn't be worried about the water. I'd be worried about the fingers that go in there.
It's not all that colour, by the way.
But it resembles the taste of sort of dirt and water. So it does have a very earthy,
And
Yeah.
earthy and peppery.
Yeah. The sequence of events when you go to a several, they will mix it, they will say a whole bunch of things in Fijian, and then they will present you with a kava bowl, which is half a coconut. It's called a bilo, sorry. You're then given the bilo, you clap once, you don't do a clap like that, you do a big, deep clap. You take it, you say bulla, and then you drink it all in one go. Don't go, you got to down the hatch, okay? Don't hold your nose, do it, just man up and get it over and done. Then you give it back and you clap 3 times. If you want, once they've gone around with everybody, you can ask for more and they'll keep giving it. But you're only really obligated to have one. And then you can excuse yourself and say thank you very much. Any other questions about the 7-7?
Where do you buy the powder? What was that? I didn't catch that. Where you buy the powder? Is it like
Most towns will have it in Fiji. We sell it at the marina. You'll get it at most marinas.
Okay.
Yeah, it's pretty common these days.
Thank you.
This is a quick little video by an American guy who's been living in Fiji for the last 8 or 9 years. He's a drone pilot. He made this video for himself to show his friends and family what he's been up to. And for me, this is the best video. It's not tourism related. It's no hype. It's just what he's been doing and essentially what you guys will be doing. So lend me your time for, it's about 2 minutes, but it's well worth it. Yep, Kurt. insert your boat into that video is essentially what it is. So if you are going to be coming to Fiji, this is what you need to know. So there's 4 ports of arrival: Savu Savu, Port Denarau, us, Advunda, and Suva as well. There's no more vaccination requirements. Anybody can enter. All you need to do is you complete your C2C form at least 48 hours before you depart here. Okay, so don't send it and then leave straight away, because you do need to wait for your approval. This is quite long-winded, but essentially you need to email your C2C form, and you find the C2C form, that's the hyperlink, but the reality is just Google search Fiji C2C form, and it'll be the first one that pops up. You then email it to this email address, yachts.report@frcs.org.fj. Now this one tricks people out because you don't forget the S, it's yachts report. Then I would recommend you also email it to your marina of arrival. So if you're coming to stay with us, then email it to us, because these guys are notorious for not actually getting back to you or saying that they've received it or anything. So we can chase up for you on your behalf. Some of the section, it's quite long-winded. This is an example of the C2C form. It's 13 pages long, but the reality is only the first 8 pages are necessary. And some sections you can completely ignore. Like there's one line which says, please provide your sanitation control certificate. That's for big ships and commercial. You don't need to worry about that. So a lot of it you can ignore. Yep.
Ignore or NA?
NA, just leave it blank.
Leave it blank?
Yep, yep. So once you've filled that in, you get approval from the Fiji government saying, yes, you can come. You then depart, once you've found your weather window, which John can help you with. And then when you're on your way, ideally, send a message to the marina of your arrival saying we're about 48 hours away. And that way we can then advise all the authorities that you're coming. You don't have to. Some people have obviously communication problems in the middle of nowhere, but if you've got an Iridium or a Garmin InReach, or if you've got Starlink, then send us an email. When you then arrive at your arrival port, radio through on 16 to whichever the marinas are, either with us in Viti Level, Coppershed and Savu Savu or Port Denarau. You then proceed to the quarantine area where Ministry of Health will give you radio critique. You then come alongside and you wait for the arrival of the authorities to go through all the paperwork and do their checks. Once that is done, it takes anywhere between half an hour and an hour if everything's in order. And then you then have to apply for what they call a cruising permit. So you can't immediately arrive and then go cruising. You have to wait till you get that cruising permit. Can take a day, can take 4 days. So that one is a tricky one, and we're trying our best to get that incorporated in the whole arrival experience. Yes, sir?
Biosecurity, they're confiscating food.
Yep, I'm going to get to that on the next slide.
Sorry, Adam.
Yes.
I saw a few boats anchoring out with a queue fence up. Is it okay to turn up and drop the hook and wait until daylight, or maybe if you arrive on a Sunday, it's all closed,
My recommendation, legally, as soon as you arrive, you're meant to clear.
Yeah.
If you arrive at night, they'll generally tell you to just drop the hook and just wait, and then they'll clear you the next day.
Yeah.
But if you arrive on a Saturday or a Sunday, they won't say wait till Monday. They will clear you on a Saturday or a Sunday. But you'll be subject to overtime charges.
Yeah.
So if you can, ideally arrive on a weekday and check that there's no public holidays in there, because overtime charges can add up a little bit. So Monday to Friday is ideal. Either speed up or slow down. And then just for this year, we've provided at Advunda Marina a little special offer where your first or your last night is included in the clearance fee, and this year we're providing a second night for free for the first 100 clearances that come into the country. So if you are deciding to stay with us, you get the first 2 nights for free. And then this is a quick little poster about that. So biosecurity, we mentioned biosecurity. Anybody got pets? Yes, common sense. Common sense, yachties. Yay. Okay, I can ignore all that. Pets are very tricky, and anyway, we won't go into that. But the rule with fresh fruits and vegetables, essentially don't arrive with fresh fruits and vegetables. Throw them overboard or use them all before you arrive. They will get confiscated anyway. It's just like arriving into an airport. Same rules apply. No honey into Fiji at all, and no pork products. Pork is there's African swine flu, which they're worried about. So no sausages, no ham in a can, no anything with pork in it. No bacon.
We usually do canny.
Yep.
It's okay?
It depends. If it's pork, no.
Pork and
Even in canning.
Even canned.
no,
Yep.
no pork whatsoever and no honey whatsoever.
Yeah. Doesn't matter if it's in glass bottles, cans, nothing.
So even honey from New Zealand.
Absolutely,
Nope.
no honey or pork at all. So, but readily available once you get to Fiji.
I was just
Yeah.
gonna
You
say-
can buy honey in Fiji.
Okay, just
and you
to
buy
know.
pork.
Yeah. There's very good butchers in Fiji.
We eat it all.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
That-
Frozen. Frozen anything is fine. Vegetables is okay. Frozen meat is fine,
except for pork.
except pork. Even frozen pork they'll take.
Pork is a different.
Yeah. Yep. Yep.
If you're-
Eggs are fresh, considered fresh fruits and vegetables. In that same, they're not fresh fruit and vegetables, but they're fresh, so they're not allowed.
And remember, the simplest is, if you're in doubt, lay it out. You know, have it laid out so you can show them, and they'll quickly take, bag up, and go if it's you know.
Veg is over here.
That's it.
Yep.
Sorry, same one, the seeds and nuts, if they're in packages unopened.
They're okay, generally. Yeah. They'll normally go, like lots of people have herbs and condiments and all the rest of it. They're generally fine. Yeah.
Can I understand one thing here? Anything you bring in that you're not sure of but is commercially packaged, that is what they're going to look at it to decide how it's been treated. That's what the issue is. So if you've got unopened packets of nuts that you're worried about, the showing it to the officers.
Yeah. It's showing us best.
Yeah.
Showing us
Always
best.
clear everything.
Yeah. Just like when you arrive in an airport, declare it or face a fine. Same kind of thing.
Arriving with fresh fruit and vegetables, throw it over the side or bag
12
it
miles
up.
out.
Bag it up.
Yeah, quite far out. Not,
Around the corner.
Yeah.
yes.
Not that-
Either consume it
Not as you're
or
coming up the entrance way.
yeah.
Because the apples keep
Or
falling.
put it in garbage.
Yeah.
Bag it.
Yeah. They have amnesty bins at all the ports of arrival. So if you want to, you can throw it away with them. Anybody else got any other questions about biosecurity or health or immigration or customs? Okay, moving on. So John will probably be able to advise more clearly about this because he's done the crossing how many times? 40? 50 times from New Zealand to Fiji. So he kind of knows what he's talking about. But
It's an awful lot of time on the water, by the way.
yes. So the two, so Vunda is just over here, Denarau is over here, Suva is here, and Savu is over here. So they're the four clearance ports. Generally, most people would come up from New Zealand and would go straight through to clear into Savu because then it makes cruising out here quite easy because you've got the trade winds going this way. And then you can explore more of Fiji. Some people are more than happy just to clear straight in here. This is generally a better cruising ground, well, easier cruising grounds. I would say actually out here is better, but it's tougher. You've got to be very self-sufficient out in the Lao group. And in Suva, not many people do it. It's more commercial, big fishing boats and ships and stuff like that. Anybody got any comments about that one, John, in terms of arrivals?
Just don't be tempted to cruise into the Lao group and then come and clear.
Do not stop. until
Clearance
you
first.
clear.
Yeah, if you are going through to Savu, obviously there's a lot of islands. The customs authorities are very strict about unauthorized stopping. So don't stop until you're cleared. Last year we had one boat that stayed down here in Fulana. They stayed there for about
2.5 months nearly.
a long time. And then they finally limped into Wunder and they're like, we arrived. And Customs said, yeah, you did 2.5 months ago, you're in big trouble. And
Two things
got in
with
a lot of
that.
trouble.
Two things with that. Number one, the first is you must display an AIS signal coming into Fiji at all times. If you turn your AIS off, there's a $3,000 fine. If you stop somewhere, I don't know what the fine is for that, but it's
10,000
serious.
and seizure of your vessel, possibly.
So just don't. It's as simple as that. So and
Obviously,
don't
under
turn your AIS
emergency-
off. Yeah.
And that doesn't apply to Minerva.
No, it doesn't.
No,
No. Minerva at the moment is disputed territory.
It's
At the
ours.
moment. It's not.
Tell them about
Okay, so it's before the South Pacific Forum at the moment, and it's likely that one of each of the two Minervas will go to each Tonga and Fiji. Okay, hasn't been ratified yet. So if somebody says to you that you're not allowed to stop at Minerva Reef, you can say, "I am."
Yeah, don't get sucked into that. You know, you're not having. You know, I've spent literally weeks and weeks and weeks there.
It is the most amazing place in the South Pacific. It's bizarre. You sit there in the middle of the Pacific Ocean at anchor, and at high tide you see nothing except the Pacific. It is awesome. We also used to run the rallies that Vicky. How many people are we got with Vicky and the other prison? Okay, so Lynn and I used to run the association from 2007 through 17, 18. And 1 year, 14 I think it was, we had 46 boats in Minerva Reef, North Minerva. Our sponsor at the time was Doyle Sails. And so Doyle said to us, why don't you have a cricket match at Minerva Reef? So we had the Kiwis against the rest of the world. The Kiwis won. Not the Australians, but the Kiwis won. And Doyle put up a $1 million prize for a 6 over the southern boundary. It's only 3 miles away. But we had a heck of a lot of fun at low tide, because at low tide the reef is about as high as this table is above the low tide mark. So you could walk across it, you can go what the Tongans call lobster stomping at night time, pick a full moon and go out with a Petromax lantern and a sack or a bag or anything you like, and you see a lobster sticking its little tentacles up and you stomp on him. You lean down, you pick him up, you put him in your bag.
Or even easier, bake some bread when the Tongan fleet are down and just swap it.
Or give them a 6-pack of beer and they'll love you forever. So there's all sorts of different things. Okay, does that answer that question?
Yep, there was another question here.
Yeah, you said the AIS is required. My equipment receives AIS but doesn't broadcast.
Ooh, okay, you're going to need that if you're going through the Torres Straits and west anyway. So you will get fined if you approach the Torres Straits without an AIS signal being transmitted.
Fiji's not so strict about. In COVID, they were very strict. You couldn't arrive unless you had AIS signaling. Now it's more of a we want you to have it.
Recommended.
Yeah, recommendation.
Where's Torres Straits from?
Torres Straits is at the top of Australia, so
Between Australia and Papua New Guinea.
Yeah.
basically. Yes, sir.
You mentioned fishing.
Yep.
Everybody talks about Sigma here.
Mm.
What's your advice?
Don't eat barracuda.
feed the cat first.
They're all fine. Yeah.
You don't fish over a reef.
You
can in a lot of areas, but the best idea with regards to Cicataria is go and talk to the locals first and say, hey guys, I've caught this fish, is it edible? They'll probably say, yeah, give us a look and we'll have a...
So, Grant is a commercial fisherman, or was, and he probably in a good
Yeah, I
position.
can quickly, but we don't. Yeah, your pelagics are pretty well fine. Okay, so wahoo and walu, especially walu, is probably Spanish mackerel. That's probably the most common. Their bluefin trevally are really predominant up there, and they are very easy to catch. I personally don't recommend eating them. Locals do, but they've got a much better tolerance, and they feed on the reef fish. So, you know, the pelagics don't tend to feed on the reef or the coral fish, and the coral fish are the ones that have this in them, which then transfers through. So, most of your pelagics, you're fine.
Most of your coral fish as well, to be honest.
Yeah,
like,
and
it's very rare to hear of somebody getting ciguatera poisoning in Fiji.
Yeah.
It can happen, but I couldn't tell you the last time I've heard of somebody getting it.
There's also a couple of fish that are on the species up there that you need to just check too, that are actually on the endangered. So you need to make sure that, especially coral trout.
Grouper.
Yeah, and they're all on endangered species. You can quickly download that. They've got pictures there. Just
How many divers have we got that are snorkelers, spear divers? Okay, so just be very careful with that. The other thing is you've got to remember that you're in there in Golly Golly, so if you're spearing their fish on the reef, then you're effectively spearing their fish in their area of what they own and what they look after. So before you go spearfishing or free diving in an area, just make sure you check with the chief or his headman and make sure that it's okay to do that. And in a lot of instances, if you're catching a pelagic fish off the edge of the reef and you've taken the fillets off it, take the carcass into the village and give the village the carcass. They'll love you for it.
Share your fish.
Hmm?
Share your fish.
Share your fish,
It will
yeah.
be very well received.
Can I just ask a question back to that AIS? You said don't turn it off, and then you said you don't have to turn it off. Can you just clarify that?
Okay, if I could clarify that because I know what the situation is.
The
okay?
reason I'm asking is, the only reason I'm asking is, our AIS transmits and receives, but when we have it on at the moment, we have all our other nav gear on, and it chews a fair bit of power. So if we have to have it on all the time, we'll have to go around and turn off all the screens to save power. I'm just asking, if we're at anchor, can we turn it off once we've cleared it?
Okay, so essentially what the government is saying, and I got we actually, Lynn and I had a problem leaving Fiji last year. Fortunately, we were able to prove to them that we had our AIS on, we had an AIS track. We ran into problems going out through the Nabula Pass, went another 5 miles down the coast, ended up with some engine alarms, needed to turn back, and came back into Mommy Bay in order to see if we could get that working again. Went back out through the Nabula Pass. No, it wasn't working. Still had problems with the autopilot. Came back in, anchored off Vunda Marina to clear back into the country. Now, in actual fact, we weren't clearing back into the country. We were cancelling our previous clearance, which is a subtle difference because we didn't get any update on our immigration. We then had to go and sort immigration out. Now, well, in the process of doing that, the customs official said, we need your AIS on all the time because we are now monitoring it through the airport at Nandi Bay. And if you stop in a place that you're not supposed to stop on the way out or on the way in, we will know about it. He said people have been turning their AISs off, and the bill before before Parliament last year was to impose a fine on anybody that did not show an AIS signal in Fiji waters. End of story.
At all times?
At all times, yeah.
Okay, so I need to turn the other screens off.
Correct. Yeah. Okay.
In saying that, my boat also doesn't transmit, it only receives.
Yeah, but you're a Fiji registered boat.
No, I'm not.
Okay, you're going to get into trouble then if that's the case.
That's my point, is that maybe you do, maybe you don't.
Okay, so my point is, if you don't want to get into trouble, always show an AIS signal. Okay. Yeah, Will, you had a question? Donnie, any question?
No, I was just going to say, once you've cleared in the zone, if you turn it off at night while you're at anchor, you're saying that's not acceptable.
Again,
I've got to say, I think you might be just pushing the wrong envelope here, because once you've cleared in there, I mean, you don't have to have your IAS at that time. You know.
Yeah, it's recommended, but sorry to jump in there. He did get in trouble last year, but that was a one-off. Nobody else did. He just got targeted.
because I'm me. Actually, he did a phone call, but didn't
I was going to say, we made sure that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
More of a comment about the charts. I would suggest that they're a good guide, but they're nowhere as accurate as you would get out here.
Yeah.
And the bomb is missing, there are reefs missing. Be careful.
Yeah. I think that's cruising anywhere almost.
Yeah, one of the things.
Trust your eyes more than anything else.
One of the things about the chart is you'll find 90% of the charts are really good for the major commercial areas. So if there's commercial vessels transiting the areas on the chart, then the charts will be accurate within that area. It's the areas that, like the Yasawas and the Lao and perhaps the north coast of Vanuatu, that are less accurate. Now the problem is that the charts are 90% accurate. We don't know where the other 10% is. So you've got to regard anything outside the major commercial areas as being suspect. So eyes on the road.
I always cross-check with a GPS satellite image. I just track where I'm going. You can normally see the reefs if you zoom in enough on either Google Earth or maps or anything like that. That's always my cross-check. All right, moving on.
Moving on.
Okay, so just a little bit about some of the marinas that are in Fiji. And as I said earlier, ideally you're not spending much time, you're out having fun playing in Fiji. But at some stage you may need a provision, get some fuel, get some water, get some repairs done. So the main marinas in Fiji, there's the Coppershed Marina, which is our sister marina. We've got our marina, Vunda Marina, Musket Cove on Malolo, Port General, which is just across the bay from us, Royal Suda Yacht Club, and the new one, which is called Naui Island. This is just some aerial shots of the various marinas. And this is the new one in Savu Savu, Naui Island, which is opened just last year.
That's a computer representation, by the way, not the
Correct,
actual.
that's not the actual, yeah. I didn't have... You were?
Yeah, down on the bottom corner here.
There you go. So a little bit about Vunda Marina. We've got 120 in-water berths. We're just building 30 more, so we're going to have 150. We've got the largest travel lift in Fiji. We've got 50 hardstand spaces. If anybody's on a multi-hull, we've got the only multi-hull trailer to take you out of the water. It's a 40-ton Rudberg. We've got a yacht chandlery, actually 90 cyclone pits, not 80. We have great accommodation on site, so if you've got any friends or family or you're getting work done, you want to get off the boat for a little while, we've got nice accommodation on site. We have a fuel dock which has just been upgraded by Mr. Grant over here. Diesel, unleaded, premix is all available right there. As mentioned, we're a boarding station. We've got a great little restaurant with a kids play area. We are also a proven storm shelter and recognised by many insurance companies that if you are within the confines of Vunda Marina when a named storm comes through Fiji, a lot of your insurance companies will now recognise and insure you while you're there. We have gone through 28 years of cyclones. I've got over 100 staff who are all extremely knowledgeable and experienced, and they're there to look after you. And if you are staying in Fiji over cyclone season, we recommend take a guaranteed berth. We only open here, so this is what we call the East Basin. That's the West Basin. In a storm, we only allow boats in here, and obviously on the hard, these are cyclone pits over here. That one is closed for now, just while we monitor. This is relatively new, so we're just going to watch and see how it reacts in a storm. So if you are going to be staying in Fiji, take one of these berths, go cruising, 2.5 hours, you're in the Marmanuthas, you can get up to the Yasawas. The furthest away in the Yasawas is only about 9 hours motoring. So each morning, open up your weather app, and have a look at the weather, see if anything's coming. If nothing's coming, enjoy the time. If something possibly is coming, better to be safe than sorry. Come on down, get your spot, and if necessary, you take all the precautions, and we're all there to help you guys out. So obviously every boat's different sizes, etc. So I'm just giving you a generalization. But if you're a 40-foot yacht that weighs less than 20 tons, it costs you about $23 a day to stay in the marina. For a month is about $460. A whole out's $250. A cyclone pit is about $760 per month. Included in the rates, water, electricity, and we even give you ice, and because you've got to keep your drinks nice and cool. And then free 1 hour Wi-Fi access per day. We have 3 options while you're in Fiji, while you're at Wunda Marina. The first one is the in-water berths, then you've got your cyclone pits and your hard stand. So in-water berth is obviously if you're going to be sailing and cruising around, then you take one of these. We've got easy access to Nadi Airport. Nadi Airport's only 17 minutes away, so if you've got friends and family that are flying in, you can easily pick them up, send for them with a taxi or go and pick them up yourselves. We've got floating docks and fixed docks, and somebody mentioned at the back they want to be in the West Basin because we've got the floating docks out there. We've got the fuel dock, access to LPG refill stations just around the corner from us, and obviously we've got a fantastic restaurant which I mentioned earlier. Cyclone pits. This is your safest option if you are leaving your boat unattended for an extended period of time and you're in a monohull. Take a cyclone pit. It's essentially it's a keel pit. We lower your keel into the ground. We take up 70% of the weight on your keel, and then we nestle your hull with tyres. And if you are going to be spending cyclone season, maybe you need to go back to work, see family and friends, just want to have a break from the boat, put it in a cyclone pit. This is the #1 safest option by a long stretch. And I put my boat in a cyclone pit as well.
Where's my boat at Windflower at the moment?
That also is in the cyclone pit. Yes, we see it every day. So this is a great option for long-term storage. We also we've got cyclone straps that tie off from your cleats, hold you down so that really there is nothing that can tip you over. They work perfectly because obviously if you're on stands and you're high off the ground, if a storm comes, those props can shift and move and your boat can tilt over and you can have some damage. But in a pit, obviously you can't fall over because you're already on the ground. So this is a very simple but clever option. We can also provide caretaking service. So we've got a little form, and it depends on what kind of service you want, whether it's a deck wash, whether it's a wipe down inside, air it out, that kind of thing, just to keep the mold control under control, keep the leaves off your deck, etc., etc. In sailing season, so we're coming into sailing season, and maybe you also need to head back home, maybe Europe or America or wherever it's from. The sailing season pits are the cheapest option that we have. They're essentially $9 a foot versus in the water is about $16 a foot. So it's almost half the price. So if you are going to leave it for a couple of months, that's your best option. Hard stand, if you have a catamaran and you want to stay over cyclone season, then this is your best option. We take you out with our trailer, put you on the hard, strap you down with 10 cyclone straps, and it also allows you obviously to do your work on the boat. If a storm comes, your safest option in order is cyclone pit. If you're on a catamaran, then being on the hard. The next best option is in the water, and you follow our precautions. We've got a 13-page severe weather preparation plan, which you need to follow all the things there. And your worst option is being a monohull stance. So definitely don't do that. Then we're all done. Thank you all very much. Vinaka. See you in Fiji. Yeah. Woo.